Hello everyone, and welcome back once again. Just like in the last video, we are visiting a artist that has done work that I've shown off before. In this case, we are looking at the sequel to A Watercolour Wander, which I sort of messed up on. And for this exhibit, we're going to have a lot of story, which I won't be reading out loud myself, as I usually let people read them for themselves, and if you need to pause the video and continue reading, that's fine. But in any case, as I was saying before, I sort of messed up on A Watercolour Wander, as there was apparently a story attached to it that I did not know about when I went through it. But this exhibit definitely makes it noted that there is a story going through it, so we'll definitely be seeing what's been going on in this watercolor world again. So we're following the story of a girl named Ellie, and she's just met some mushrooms. And Ellie is talking to mushrooms about how she would like to meet Pinky again, which is a butterfly. And so she bids adieu to the mushrooms and decides to wander off towards the woods. And one of the neat things I noticed about this area when I just peeked in before was that they made a night sky by using glowing spheres, which is a really nice idea that I actually haven't seen before. And so Ellie sets off across the woods and comes across a creature known as Nosy. And Nosy tells her about where the fairies live, over just a little further over where we are. And so we have our first companion here, Nosy the Pixie. It is nice that the note cards, when you pick them up, are numbered, so that's something I'll be able to check on to make sure I'm not skipping ahead. And we found where the pixies live. They seem to be making some sort of odd noises, though. So let's go ahead and see the story bit for we're in here. The Fairy Hill. So Ellie and Nosy end up at the Fairy Hill, and Ellie tries to speak to the fairies, but they seem to be sort of agitated and fluttering around very quickly. And Nosy points out that they're upset and mentions a gardener. It's the gardener. He is ill, and that's very bad news. Because without the gardener, the forest will die. So obviously we need to find out what's going on with the gardener. And we find the owl. And the owl apparently knows all. And the owl tells us that we have to find the bare trees. As in, no leaves or needles. And he points us in the right direction. Let's see. I guess this might be like another... There might be like another picture of Nosy right there, I'm not sure. Oh, almost. If I had just looked the other way, I wouldn't have even seen that one. The Old Man Bear Tree. And we ask him where the gardener is, or if we've heard about him. And the Old Man Bear Tree tells us that we need to find the bear tree with the fruits. The fruits will heal the gardener. The tree is well hidden, and we'll need all the help we get to be able to find it. So he tells us to go look for the creatures in the forest, as some of them will no doubt be able to help us. Quite the odd-looking creature, but and the reflection disappears. Interesting. So I guess there are a few little tidbits around that aren't specifically part of the path. Which I saw what looked like, yep, a set of pillows over here. So you could doze off by the lake right here and look at the view of the stars. Butterflies and bit of slowing down right here. This is actually the first bit of hit I've actually gotten here at the sim. And we meet the butterflies, including the one that Ellie originally wanted to meet again, Pinky. And Pinky and Nosy aren't exactly the best of friends, as Pinky claims that she knows more than Nosy. And in the case of the bear tree, she tells us that we have to walk among the flowers. Alright. Is this the right way? I see flowers over here, so let's take a look over this way first. Actually, I can't move through those, okay. Alright then. Oh, a hedgehog. Guess he's just hanging around. And we find out that we can't find a bear tree in sight. And the hedgehog tells us that since we're helping the gardener, he'll tell us where to go, which is we have to walk among the flowers, take the easiest path where the flowers grow low. And as we can see already, there is in fact a path of flowers low to the ground. Through this field of flowers, quite a bit of flowers in fact. And a weird looking thing that looks like some sort of floating pufferfish almost. And we found another tree. This tree looks a bit, this tree looks a bit weird. I see heads growing off of them. Maybe that's why it's the head fruit tree. And Ellie, just as I am, is surprised by how the tree looks. And realizes that in order to take a fruit from the tree to heal the gardener would be killing one of the head-talking fruits. And she refuses to do so. And Ellie explains what's going on to the tree. The fruits decide to talk among one another in small whispers, unable to be heard. And so the fruits have another conversation and end up saying that in order to help the gardener, they will indeed die if they have to. Ellie, however, has a different idea in mind, wondering why the reason the head fruit are called head fruit. The head fruit reply that they have special powers, very good with heads, and Ellie seems to have an idea for what to do with the gardener, instead of taking the fruits. So off we go to find the gardener. I think this must be the gardener right here. Let's see. Yep. Ellie and Nosy come across the gardener sitting on a bench by some butterflies. Ellie and the gardener introduce themselves. And the gardener is in a bit of a sad state of affairs, as he knows that he's unable to stop the spreadings of dangers, sickness, and disease. Ellie decides to tell him that she's going to take him to the head fruit. And she hopes that they'll be able to heal him. The gardener's a bit surprised by this, but he decides to go, as it's been quite a time since he's seen them. They arrive back at the head fruit tree with the gardener, and the gardener puts his hands on the tree and all the fruits start to murmur again. After a while, the gardener suddenly smiles and pronounces that it'll all be alright, they will be saved. He couldn't see the answer because he was so wrapped up in seeing troubles ahead, but the solution is simple. He doesn't have to work alone. He can, with the rest of the creatures of the forest, be able to do things to help the forest and keep back the dangers that would otherwise come here. And after a long time and lots of plans made and tasks distributed, Nosy Nelly fell down to the ground, exhausted but also very happy. So it seems the crisis has been diverted. And the gardener the gardener bids Ellie farewell, as it's time for her to go and get some sleep. And it seems our story ends with Ellie going back to the mushrooms and talking about the adventure and how it's time for her to go back to her room. So that was a fun little story, I have to say. I guess this takes us right back. Okay, it takes us over to a shop, but let me go ahead and take a look over here real quick. Guess this seems to have something on it. Looks like it's just a bit of mountainous stuff. So yeah, it was pretty much a walkthrough as Watercolour Wander was. We got to read what the story was about, which it was a nice little story. I kind of like this one a bit better, as with the whole Starry Night looking idea to it. And I guess all this stuff right here you'd be able to buy, I assume. You could buy your own mushrooms if you wanted to. So yeah, that about wraps it up for The Forest Beyond, the sequel to Watercolour Wander. And I'll probably be able checking out this person's work as I did with another person's work just recently, too, once they make other stuff as well. Because I do like this theming.